As journalists and television hosts, scripts are a lifeline. Each newscast, each story, it all revolves around a script.
But now it's time to go unscripted. That means we're not just going off script, we're throwing out the script altogether.
Each week, we're joined by fellow Farm Journal hosts and editors to peel back the layers on stories we've shared throughout the week.
Unscripted. It's real, it's raw, it's entertaining, and it's your chance to meet the personalities behind the personalities. I'm Tyne Morgan.
And I'm Clinton Griffiths. Welcome to Unscripted.
Good
Hey,
morning.
everybody.
Good morning. Good afternoon. James
know,
keeps giving me my shot. Like, I'm gonna have a talk with him. Like, I'm recording. I am in my big office studio, aka the dining room. I need him out of my shot. But Clinton, that open, we haven't done that since we talk about a script and going off script. And I have, I go off script a lot, even on the show.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, you do.
Not good at following the script, but I have a new appreciation for the script because Clinton and I actually recently had coaching on
Oh,
how to
yes.
be, improving on air, which we could all use. And so before, I just read through a script, not a problem. Now, Clinton, I don't know about you, but like I second guess everything, and that's not my personality. So it's
Yeah,
interesting. I have a whole
I
new
know.
appreciation for the script.
No, it's so true because you start to, it's like anything. The more you think about it, the more you think about it. And so,
Right.
like, instead of just like, oh, just be natural. Well, then you're thinking, well, what's natural? And what should I do with my hands? And where should they, you know what I mean? So, like,
Mhm.
the more you do it, the more you think about it and it feels, less natural. But, it's a process. It's a process time. Like,
Well,
you've been doing this for a couple of weeks. A couple more weeks, you're going to get it down. Me too. That's what I'm working on. A couple
I
more weeks,
was
I'm going to have this.
I was told to be more dynamic. Um, and in my personal life, that's no problem. So I guess I just have to bring that on air.
Dude,
What was the message she had for you?
slow down, really. Was like slow down and like let it breathe.
Oh, because I
So,
feel like you're pretty good at that.
well, I don't know.
Always be better, I guess.
I can always be better. I think
Mm.
I know what it is. It's, recording whenever we do the show. And boy, this is getting in the weeds time. Whenever we do the show, I do once in a while tend to just kind of like go from one story to the next and just like
Yeah,
motor through it.
right.
And so she's like, why don't you just take a break? Give it just a breath,
Yeah.
acknowledge that you're in this space and then move on. And I think, okay, that's good. I mean, we do that in our personal lives whenever we're transitioning from one story to the
I
next to the
know.
next.
But
But you
when
don't
you're
think about it when you're doing it, for a job. So
well, and hammer down, you're just trying to I mean, at this point, you worked all day on the show,
yeah,
and
it's
so
trying
you're
to get
just
that's the
trying yeah,
last thing.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
for
Well,
sure.
we have a big week next week, really big week
Oh,
next week.
it is the biggest of big weeks.
Mhm.
It's crop tour. It's
Crop
crop tour week.
And
I
it makes
know.
me sad because it's always the sign that summer's over.
You know what? You're right. It is. It's kind of like the
Mhm,
starting pistol for fall, but it's
mhm.
also the beginning of football season, which is nice, because, I'm sure you're going to go get your pumpkin spice latte, get your Ugg boots and, out, you're going to be wearing a sweater, maybe a
Did you
hat.
just did you label me as a basic white girl?
I don't know. I don't know. Is that the label?
Yeah, it is. But if I think of somebody that's the basic white boy,
Oh,
and, this individual, has an unhealthy
oh,
obsession
our
with the
guest today.
Cubs, very unhealthy obsession with the
Uh-huh.
Cubs.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure bleeds Iowa State, okay?
Ooh.
And was Crop Tour before Crop Tour even existed. It's like the land before time.
Now,
This
listen, you're gonna
what
get in trouble. You're going a little too far back.
I mean, I kinda live life on the edge. Anyway,
Yeah, good luck.
yeah, we are super excited today to have on the one
The
and
one,
only Chip Flory.
ladies and gentlemen, Chip Flory, everybody. Chip
Hey,
Flory of
what's going on?
AgriTalks fame.
I
Hey, what's
cannot
up?
imagine how unrewarding it would be to be the coach for you guys
Yeah, no, no.
on broadcast. I
Nothing
mean,
gets done.
everything that
Nothing gets
person
done.
said, nothing is going to happen from that. Nothing.
You're not wrong, Chip.
I'm coachable.
100%.
I just want you to know that. I
Okay.
am coachable.
Okay. We'll see, Chip. I mean, we've both worked with Tyne for a couple of years. We know.
Yeah. Got an idea of what that's like.
It's a blast.
Hey,
Mm.
so Chip, it's that time of year, and whenever
Mhm.
we talk crop tour, which we're
Yeah.
excited about, is Tyne says, she feels like it's the end of summer. I feel like it's a kickoff to football. What does it mean for you?
What I never saw a kid's first day of school.
No.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
And for in the early days of crop tour, I mean, we had a bag phone that I used, but I had to be careful how I used it because that was expensive as heck back in the early 90s. So I got to say good morning, have fun at school today, but that's one thing that I always think about. Tom and Emily went through their entire school without me being there on first day of school. Now, when Emily started at Iowa State, I did break away for a half a day from crop tour to help them move into the dorm. But
what a sweaty dad job. I love it.
Yeah.
But I think, that's what you don't see is the sacrifices Chip has made. I'm not willing to make that sacrifice. I won't miss the girls' first day of school. And so I am always late by a day to get on crop tour.
You're just a better person than me.
No, I am not.
I'm telling you, my
No,
kid's
I
been
am
at school
not.
for 2 weeks already. So,
I
count your
just
blessings. At least they get an extra 2 weeks.
I'm not a better person. I just play a lot less vital of a role in crop tour. And so I can.
You're not Chip Flory.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can. But, this year crop tour is coming next week. And it is the end of summer
I think,
for me.
Zach, we've got pictures of crop tour.
Yeah, actually, this is, I think, a live look. A live look.
There it is.
Started.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one. Isn't that the one, Chip? Picture live look into crop tour right now. I believe that's it.
I'm trying to figure out just which scout that is.
It's Richard Goosey.
It must be on the eastern leg. I haven't been over there for quite some time.
It's Richard Goosey.
Oh, that's
Goosey. I believe
I always wondered what Goosey looked like.
That's what he looks like without makeup.
Got it.
I believe the yield is 120 on that. If I did the math right.
Right.
Well, there's only 4 ears out there, so
low test weight. Low test weight, very low test weight. Okay, so let's get into our first segment because I've got questions. Let's get into talking tea. I do love some tea, Chip. We're not going to get into the real drama right now, but leading into crop tour, and I've seen both sides of people who are really. They want crop tour because this is the first chance where scouts on a large basis are going into the field and kind of ground truthing some of these numbers that we've heard or what we've seen. And Chip, I think, and you have to remember up until this point, like USDA's latest crop production report, Chip, it's based on farmer surveys and NDVI imagery, right? And the NDVI imagery looks good. I mean, we've talked to so many farmers that say it looks really good from the road. And then I get in, and in some instances, it's a little disappointing. And so for you, though, on crop tour, what is the most vital piece of data that you gather each year?
Ear counts. If the ears aren't there, you're not going to have the yield. So it's without a doubt the number of ears per sample that we pull out there. And we don't measure off 17.5 foot in 30-inch rows. We just measure off 2 30-foot rows, and then the row spacing becomes part of the calculation, the yield calculation later. But no, it's without a doubt. If you don't have, if you're not pushing up into the 108 to 112 ears per 60 foot of row, it's going to be really tough to get that 220, 250 yield sample that I think a lot of us are expecting to see as we head out there. So yeah, there's no question that ear counts are the most important thing.
Chip, do you feel like this year leading into the beginning of crop tour that, I mean, there's chatter every year and there's always the discovery process, and it's so important.
Really? I never hear any of the chatter.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Have no idea what
I know you don't, but
about.
Is this year any different? Do you feel like there's a little, I want to say there's like a little more weight underneath this thing before?
Not on crop tour. Not on crop tour. I don't think that there's any more weight than what there usually is on crop tour. There is a different attitude when it comes to what the pro farmer crop tour, excuse me, let me say this right, what the pro farmer crop estimate is at the end of the week, because that's not a
Okay.
crop tour number.
Sure.
That's pro farmer editors taking all the information that we've gathered during the week and turning it into one national average corn yield, one national average soybean yield. It takes analysis. We do things differently than what USDA does out there in the field. We know that the number is going to be, or we know that the number has been different than what USDA has kicked out for a final yield estimate. And we know on average by how much. So there's your clue. We're just we're looking at the state by state numbers. We're putting some historical deviations onto those numbers that we get on a state by state basis, and that's what kicks it out. So as far as more pressure on crop tour, no, because the crop tour is what it is. It's a discovery process. Is there more pressure on that pro farmer estimate at the end of the week? Yeah, maybe. I mean, a 188.8 is a huge number. 53.6 there is a huge number, and everybody, I don't think anybody is questioning if it's a record crop or not. I mean, it's a question of, is it really as good as what those August estimates from USDA are telling us?
Well, and Chip, each day we will get estimates on what, well, we'll see what crop tour found for those routes. And those are specific routes. It doesn't go across the entire state, but you have historical data, you have historical averages. So, I mean, isn't it important not to compare what you find on crop tour that day to USDA's current estimate? I mean, because I see a lot of comparisons there, and you can use that in context on what USDA is projecting. But do you want to clear up some of that misconception? Because it is not apples to apples.
Why would you do that? Why would you even do that? I don't understand. When we've got a very a much better comparison to make. If you are comparing what we find on crop tour to USDA's August 1 yield estimate, what you're doing is you've made the decision to make the wrong comparisons. Make the right comparison and compare it to what we found in that state last year, because we're running the same routes, we're using the same processes. So it's a legitimate year-to-year comparison. Now, USDA, you can claim the same thing about USDA's numbers. They are using the same process year to year. So theoretically, if USDA found a 10% increase in the Illinois corn yield from last year to this year, then you might expect the crop tour to also find that 10% increase. If we don't, then something's up. So if we come back with a 5% increase, okay, yeah, it's better than what it was a year ago, just not as good as what USDA said. If we come back at 115% increase when USDA was at a 10% increase, we can say, listen, it's every bit as good as what USDA said on August 1. They've got some work to do. There's probably more yield out there than what USDA saw as of August 1. So you can get around to that USDA to crop tour estimate comparisons, but you got to do the upfront work first and do the year-to-year crop tour analysis. It's that simple.
Chip,
it's not hard.
No, definitely not hard.
We do it for you.
Yeah. And those numbers will be coming out every evening at 8:00 Central Time. Please join us for Farm Journal Live, Crop Tour Live.
Crop Tour Live.
Crop Tour Live. Hey, Chip, so what are you, as part of this discovery process, obviously you want to get out there, take a look, pull it back. What are you most excited, other than ear count, as far as crop quality? Because we've had this conversation about condition ratings this year. Pretty good. They've been pretty good. We do have some questions about disease pressure, about pollination. What are you most interested in discovering beyond just, hey, do we get enough of these plants in the row?
Unfortunately, it is something that will be an observation only, because you can't measure it at this time of the year.
Sure.
And that is going to be how hard the corn crop has been pushed.
Mm.
The recipe for a big yield is you get it from emergence to pollination, just about as quickly as you can. Now, we found out this year that maybe you can move too fast late in the process and end up with something called tassel wrap. Uh, but get it from emergence to pollination as quickly as you can. And then at that point, slow things down and maybe get an extra week on the end of the growing season to make sure that it gets to black layer with no problem. But if you can extend that kernel fill time, that's when you really build that big, heavy ear. If you rush that process of pollination to black layer, then you end up with a smaller kernel size. And, there's lots of years that are good examples of when that happened. I got to go all the way. Maybe the best example is all the way back in 1995. But you got to, 2010 was another really good example. From crop tour to USDA final, that crop lost about 1 billion bushels in 2010, and that was on a 10 billion bushel crop.
Wow.
So we had a big decline in that crop that year, and we also have to consider the fact that management practices have changed. Everybody likes to give the credit to genetics, and I think there's something to that. Well, no, I know there is something to that. But it's crop management. It's what producers are doing to promote crop health deeper into the season. I mean, when we went from conventional corn to BT corn, you guys, the change was immediate because before BT, it was not unusual to go down the road in the third week of August and be looking at a crop that was brown above the ear and was already shut down. That happened a lot because those corn borers were opening up the plant to all kinds of diseases. The diseases would get in and would shut that plant down. After BT, the corn crop was green. I mean, it was almost like flipping the switch. The corn crop was green in the third week of August, and we shut off the opportunities for those diseases to get into the plant, and the crop continued to add weight deeper into the season. Well, now you put on a fungicide, maybe even 2 applications of a fungicide.
Sure.
And that promotes that plant health even more, and it just changes the way that plant performs and keeps it greener deeper into the season. And when you do that, you're giving it every opportunity you can to gain weight before you get to black layer.
Yeah.
How many years have you been on crop tour again? I'm not trying to age you. Like, this is
you called him a dinosaur already, Tyne. Jeez,
this is a legitimate question.
She's not far from wrong in a lot of ways. 1988 was my first one. I was on.
It was on horseback. It was 19. No, I'm just kidding. That's kidding.
You walked uphill in the snow.
You built in the snow. Chip's like, where did I join this?
It was not horseback. We had a stagecoach.
Oh, you had a stagecoach? Yes.
I mean, we all piled into one big stagecoach and made one stop at everybody piled out, drank a bunch of beer, and then piled back into the stagecoach, made our way to the next spot.
I wish we would get to a white van.
Tore the fields up as we were making our way through there. You marched all 10 of us into a field and just tore things up. Whatever. No. 1988 was my first one. I went on 88, 89, and 90 as a reporter for Futures World News. 1991 was my first year back at Pro Farmer in Cedar Falls. I didn't get to go on that one, just bad timing and everything. And then in 1992, I started working with Jim Quinton to help him do it. And as part of the transition, Quinton wanted to get out of it But he wanted to see it continue. He and I had a bunch of fun together out on a crop tour when I was a reporter, and and he saw that I saw the value in it.
Yeah.
And that I understood why it was important to do this. So then we started the transition process in 92, and then Pro Farmer started running it in 1993. And before Quentin, it was the Illinois Farm Bureau tour.
So 30, this is your 36th crop tour? I'm trying to do the math, and I'm not good at math.
Yeah,
But
probably.
this is your 36th then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your 36th crop tour. You've seen a lot. You've combed through a lot of data. You know a lot of these routes by memory at this point. You wouldn't even need a map. But Chip, what are you most eager to see in the East? Like, what state are you most eager to see the results from in the East? And then what state are you most eager to see the results from in the West?
This is going to sound so boring, but Illinois and Iowa, because they're the two biggest corn producing states. I love it when people say, why should we even pay attention to this? All they do is go through the good dirt. It's because the good dirt matters.
Right.
And, I like to joke around and say, hell, you can zero out Mississippi and it doesn't make a hill of beans difference to the national average yield. It does, but not much. So you got to get to where the production is to have the best chance of figuring out what the potential of the entire crop is. I mean, that's why we spend a half a day in Ohio and a half a day in South Dakota. They're important. There's no question that they're important, but they're not as important as Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, and Minnesota. So, you got to get to where the bushels are to get a good understanding of what the crop potential is. So Illinois on the east and Iowa on the west.
Chip, you know Iowa pretty well. You spent some time there through the years. How you feeling about Iowa this year?
Oh man, I'm all over the place.
Are you? All right.
Yeah, because I had Ken Ferry on AgriTalk here. I don't know, it's been a month ago or something, maybe just 3 weeks ago. And he was talking about he's got a reason to make a trip up to Northeast Iowa as many times as he can a year. And he was talking about, Chip, I went up to Northeast Iowa, and he said all but 20 miles of that trip, I saw nothing but good corn. And I said, I'll bet that last 20 miles the 20 miles was the last 20 miles that he traveled. And he said, yeah, and I go through it all the time, almost every weekend. So I've been driving through the crap of Iowa on a near weekly basis. And it's improved. It's improved in that stretch. But there is a spot up in Northeast Iowa that just didn't get everything that it needed early in the season. It didn't get a quick enough start, and it was just too doggone wet. You could see the tile lines and everything. So that there's that area for a problem. And then when you got somebody like Allison Robertson at Iowa State University saying, listen, I've been in the state for 21 years and I've never seen Southern rust this bad.
Sure.
You better pay attention.
Yeah.
Well, and that speaks to what you pointed out earlier is like, to get the big yields, you have to finish this crop, and you probably need to bake it slowly, so it's not all at once. And if we get this disease pressure in there, and I saw some posts this week out of Indiana as well, where they're finding Southern rust, they're finding tar spot, they're finding Goss's wilt, like all the things. You get this disease pressure in there, and it shuts a plant down. It's going to be hard to push that yield.
Well, and Chip, we always talk disease on Crop Tour, but I feel like it's going to be a more prominent story this year, just because when you hear Southern rust is in every county of Iowa, it's something that we're going to be watching for.
Yeah, that's, and you're right. You do hear about disease all the time. I mean, I got to go way back to, oh man, it was probably right around 2000 when charcoal rot just wiped out southern Nebraska. And that had a big impact on that Nebraska crop, a big enough impact on the Nebraska crop that it had an impact on the national average yield. And there have been years with gray leaf spot that have, before we started taking care of it with genetics and fungicides and everything else that we do now to protect the health of the crop. So there have been some years that disease has had a, it's moved the needle on the national average yield. And it feels like this is one of those years that it could be. Now, the big year, I think it was 1973 was the big year that Southern Rust. And no, I don't really remember that crop. But I think it was 1973 was the first time that they really documented the impact of that Southern Rust further north up the Mississippi Valley. And that was a devastating year. So it can have the impact.
Yeah.
Nebraska, real quick before we move on. Nebraska. I know, you've seen the amount of irrigation in Nebraska because you compare irrigated versus non-irrigated, and you make note of that. And there's been a significant increase in the amount of irrigated acres out there. But this year, with so much rain, you think you're going to be able to even tell a difference if it's irrigated or not?
We had Luke Lorison on the show this last week, and I asked him, can you tell the difference between the corners in the pivot irrigated fields? Can you tell the difference, where the corners are? And he says they haven't even been running the pivots in some cases. Just way, way, way more rain than what they would normally get. So
yeah, I mean we're almost
tough to tell the difference.
It's going to be tough to tell, and we're almost to the point where we're going to discover this year how much is too much when it comes to rain, because we've had so much in some areas.
That might get us to our next segment here, where we talk about, I don't know, the biggest news of the week in today's What the Sigma. And Chip, that has to be the USDA report that came out. Yeah. Obviously, everyone's talking about it. There were some big surprises in it. What was your take? Just, first blush here.
Yeah, I wanted to come up with some other story, but you can't. I mean, when you bust the old record by 9.5 bushels for the corn, that's an impressive number, 188.8. That at first blush, that hits you in the face and you go, whoa. But then you look at the crop number and you think, that's a bit much. So you go to the acreage and you see that 1.9 million acre increase in harvested corn acres.
Right.
And, on an acreage basis, think about this. On an acreage basis, that's like adding Michigan into the mix.
Wow.
Okay. But what makes it even worse is Michigan. I should have looked this up. Michigan's going to grow somewhere between 350 and 400 million bushels of corn this year. Well, if they can get there, because if you're looking for a drought, you can go to Michigan.
They are. I was just about to say that they are struggling this year.
Yeah. So let's just call it 350 million bushels in Michigan this year. If that, what we added to the acreage mix was Michigan, but what we added to the crop was 3 times Michigan. Think about that.
Oh my gosh. Wild.
Well, and not only, you look at these, I wish we had a map of the acreage increases, because you look at the yield increases, you look a lot of this at this blue area, which some of this surprises me because they had so much rain in the beginning and they were so late getting their crop in. So a lot of that surprises me. But the acreage increases where we saw the largest, it was in the West.
Yeah.
So you've got bigger acreage in the West and now bigger yield. And you talk to, I hear guys from Texas say, listen, we're growing Illinois corn this year. Like they're super excited about their crop because they actually had rain. And so you look at Oklahoma. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
32 bushel per acre increase in Oklahoma. Am I reading that correctly?
Percent change. Yeah,
Or the
30%.
percent
change.
Yeah,
change?
percent
Yeah.
change over,
Yeah,
but
percent change,
30%.
32%.
Yeah, that's huge.
Oh, it's huge increases with more acres. See, and the conversation all year is how can we be projecting even 181 with what was the number before with the 95 million planted?
Right.
Right.
Well, here we are with a whole lot more than that planted and a
Above
bigger
97.
yield
Yeah.
because of where those acres are. They are in states that can produce, and this year have been getting the rain to produce. So, in other words, early in the season, when conditions were right and still a little dry in the Western Corn Belt, the guys rolled the dice and put more corn in the ground.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was in California this week in Fresno, an area that is extremely diverse and a powerhouse when it comes to ag production. And I found out that the almond growers there it's almond. You don't lose the L until you shake the trees. They say they shake the L out of them. Okay, so it's almonds after you shake the tree. It's almonds before. Learn a lot this week. Anyway, I guess
Right.
they had an almond board meeting. And of course, USDA has jurisdiction over that. And there was what I heard from a very reliable source is there were about 20 almond growers that went in, and they ended up shutting the meeting down because there's so much frustration. And the frustration is USDA pegged this almond crop much larger than what anyone expected, and as a result, the price plummeted. And so, the frustration is not just in corn country. You've got almond growers out west that are extremely frustrated right now with this big production. And Chip, our goal in agriculture as farmers, I mean, you want to produce as much yield as possible, whether it's almonds, whether it's corn, whether it's soybeans, wheat,
Mhm.
cotton, whatever it is. That's what we do. And farmers are damn good at it. And so a year
Mhm.
like this, where Mother Nature plays in your favor and they're making really smart decisions, and USDA expects this really big yield. Right now, it's based on farmer survey data, which I heard farmer survey result. The rate of respondents was actually pretty good, and then also NDVI imagery. And you take those two things right now, 188.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm hearing that may have been a little conservative.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
USDA. This could be a massive crop.
Yeah. I've gotten some feedback from others that are running models that are saying, listen, they could have gone to a 191 pretty easy
Oh,
and
geez.
been able to justify it based on the vegetative index and the attitude of farmers about their crop. It's for the most part, farmers did what they set out to do, and you've already explained that. They set out to grow the most bushels that they possibly can, and a lot of guys are getting that accomplished this year. So
Well,
And they're
when
gonna
it
have to, Chip, at
yeah,
these
well,
prices, they're gonna
yeah.
have to produce a lot of crop. I mean, then that's the
yeah,
thing. We try to outproduce the price. And this
yeah,
year, even with
Mhm.
demand good, the production's just such a monster, possibly. I mean, we're gonna find out. But
yeah,
you mentioned the NDVI imagery. We know NDVI this year is not telling the full story. And so that's why I'm
right,
so interested in crop tour to see what happens when you actually go in the field. Clinton,
yeah,
did did you have something, Clinton?
No, I just was gonna say, yes, I agree with you.
yeah. Well, then that's smart to do with Tyne. It makes
It's
life
100%.
easier. Um,
I'll beat you if you
so
don't.
Zach, pull up the average yield. There we go. I mean, look at that number. I mean, it's
but it's
above trend,
but
right?
but it's not like we haven't done this before. When
Right.
the when yields make a step forward, it's not a step, it's a leap.
Mhm.
Oh.
And look at what we've done in the past when we've made that move above trend line. And then you get back to trend line and then you make another leap. And honestly, we've been at trend line, each side of trend line for probably too long.
Mm.
And now we're making that leap again. So at least that's the early indication on this crop. And it can change. We've lost a lot of bushels late in the season before, and we can do it again. It's that is certainly a possibility. I don't think that's in the forecast. But the disease issues out there have got me a bit worried. So, yeah, no, it's
Chip, what do
a
you what
lot of bushels.
yeah, what do you think of this? Because I mean, I know you talk a lot of biofuels. It's something you've followed your whole career. We need a demand story, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
need a reason to continue to grow crops this size. I mean,
Mhm.
it's what it is, or it's going to shrink. At some point, people are going to be like, "I'm done with that," and we have to have a demand story. Maybe they'll say that, Chip. I see your face.
Well, no, they should.
They should,
Some
right? Like,
at
at some
some
point, it's
point
not
somebody's
profitable.
got to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to quit
yeah.
growing it. So we need a
Yeah.
demand story, but the question is there a big enough demand story out there to help move it? And E15 year round, is
Well,
that it?
we always see it's funny when we start getting into the acreage conversation. The conversation is always, boy, look at these markets. Which one's going to bid hardest to get the most acres?
Mhm.
Which market is bidding for acres right now?
Yeah.
Cattle.
Cattle, they are.
Cattle want more acres. I mean,
Yes.
when we went through 2005 to 2008, how many acres of pasture did we lose that went to corn production?
Mhm.
I mean, we
No,
lost a lot.
we did.
I'm still looking at those acres that are running up and down the hills of eastern Iowa and looking at what it's done to that dirt. And it should have never come out of grass. Never. It should have never come out of grass, but it did. Maybe it's time for it to go back.
Well, Chip,
there's a similar story in Kansas too. Same story.
Yep.
but with corn and soybean prices today, you can't afford to put cattle on that, okay? Because it is
Well,
is
and the
a
land
sticker
prices.
shock.
And
Well,
yeah,
both.
and the land, the price of the land itself. That's
But cattle are
exactly
so
right.
so expensive, and that's why we're not seeing this. Herd rebuild. Okay, I have a question for you. All right, because while I was in California, talked to somebody who's outside of ag. And, we were talking about this because it's in all commodities right now where, pretty much all commodities that prices are depressed. In a lot of cases, we're outproducing demand. I mean, demand for corn's been really, really good. And I think that's a story that's getting buried right now. We're just outproducing apparently that demand, or the market thinks we are at least. But, someone outside of agriculture that's come into agriculture told me, he's Tyne, in agriculture, we're so good at saying, this is going to get me the best price. I'm going to go all in, right? And in long-term crops, it's a little bit harder to do that because you've got to forecast longer. But his point was, agriculture, we show our cards. We show our cards. We tell you exactly how much we're producing. We forecast exactly how much demand we think we're going to get. And he said, in no other industry do we do that. Why wouldn't we keep people guessing? What would happen if we did away with USDA crop production reports, Chip?
The market will figure it out. I mean, there's people out there figuring out what the planted acreage is and everything. If we do away with the USDA reports, they still have to provide. So what you're saying is get rid of all transparency. So
That's
get
kind
rid
of
of
what they're.
certified acreage data. Get rid of all of that.
It's what this guy, and again, he's outside of agriculture, but he's like, when I look at what farmers are frustrated about and growers are frustrated about, in no other industry do you say, yep, this is exactly how much I have left in my inventory. Yep, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, he's saying we just show our cards too much, and then we're frustrated by how the market reacts. So what happens if we take away some of those reports?
Well, if we take away those reports, because we're talking about a commodity that it goes through a price discovery system every day,
Mm-hmm.
the markets will adjust to the availability of that crop and adjust to the demand for that commodity on a daily basis. The price discovery process will continue. Now, that will be driven a whole lot more by, look at that, South Korea was in for corn overnight, instead of, look at that, South Korea was in for corn overnight, but it doesn't change the export estimate for the year. So everyday items probably have more of an impact on day-to-day price action under that kind of a system.
So volatility, right? I mean, you're just going to see it move more.
I would think, but at the same time,
Mm.
The end users of the world, I was going to start to name off some names, but I'll just say the end users
Yeah, there you go.
of the world are still going to have their expectations in place.
Mhm.
And whenever it gets outside of their expectations, uh, then that would encourage them to either get more aggressive in their coverage or less aggressive in their coverage. So we got to keep that in mind. And really, USDA numbers are just public expectations for what the supply and demand is going to be. If that would end, every company out there would have their own set of expectations, and every company, the person responsible for that, would be talking to other people at other companies to make sure that their numbers line up with people's from others companies.
So
It
basically,
it
you're
would
saying we're still going to have numbers. The information will still be there, but farmers will have less access to it to be able to make. I would think to be able to make management decisions.
well unless unless farmers would say, okay, listen, we're gonna start covering the cost of doing this through a
Hmm.
commodity group,
Okay.
or
Okay.
we're going to cover the cost. And you know what? I think StoneX has got the best set of information. I think Pro Farmer's got the best set of information. I'm going to rely more on those guys for the information. And believe me, at the people at Pro Farmer are going to know what StoneX is saying, and the StoneX group is going to know what Pro Farmer is saying.
I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
So,
He said that this
I,
week, and I thought, you know what? I haven't thought about that. What
but
would it be like without?
what we're talking about, Tyne, is a commodity world, and we're
Mhm.
involved in a commodity business,
Yeah.
and the commodity market has two roles. One is long term, and one is short term. And like I said, the short term role is to go through the price discovery system each and every day. The long term role, unfortunately, is very, very messy. And that is to make sure that the commodity is produced by the lowest possible cost producer.
Mhm.
And if you're not in that group, over time, the commodity market is going to tell you to go find something else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid we're at that point, which is
Yeah,
what's unfortunate.
we are,
Right.
and it's there will be every time we go through a period of tightening margins like we're going through right now, we go through a period of consolidation. Now, what's exaggerating this? What is exaggerating this is the supports that are in the market, the crop insurance, because every time we get a government payment, every time there's an indemnity payment on crop insurance, does that make a farmer rich? No. It goes right through the system and keeps your input prices high.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you're wondering why input prices are as sticky as they are up at these high levels.
Yeah. There's still money there to pay for them.
Well, and something's got to give. I mean, you look at, I know we talk about it on US Farm Report this weekend.
So get if you're gonna get the government out of farming, start with the supports and then get to the information, because
Mm.
right now you got to have the information to provide the data needed to
For the
support the
support.
supports.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. That's true.
One piece of information, real quick, Chip. One piece of information we haven't talked about in that USDA report is USDA's price projections.
Mhm.
They're ugly when it comes to
Yeah,
corn.
well, it's the only reason. I think on corn, it's the only reason that they put total corn use at 16 billion bushels or just under it.
Mhm.
It's because they put that lower price in there. What makes me crazy on the balance sheets is when let's say they would increase total demand and leave the price unchanged. Why? Why would you do that?
Mm,
You expect to use more at the same price?
mhm.
That doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're going to jack up your use, you better lower the price. If you're going to take your usage down, you better take the price up. So, from that perspective, I kind of respect the fact that they did that.
Yeah.
But you're right, Tyne. $3.90 is freaking ugly.
Ugly. And I know why emotions
at
are high right now.
At 181, the average cost, break-even cost on corn, I think, was probably going to be in that 490 range. At 188.8, I think it takes it into that like 470 to 475.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
For a break-even, for an average break-even out there. And obviously we still can't get to that, and obviously that's a far ways from $3.90 for a national average on-farm cash price.
Hey, on the soybean side of things, Chip, is that story any different? The demand, the price,
I keep
the
thinking about
acreage.
I have a hard time getting last year out of my brain because we missed it big time to the upside last year because of all the pods that were out there. And there was a fair amount of 3 bean pods, more than what I had normally seen. And this year, what I'm being told from some of the tours that are already out there running is that there's a lot of pods and even more 3 beans than what there has been in the past. Now, we don't try to count the number of beans per pod while we're out there, but people will be making observations on that and trying to gauge, is this normal, more than normal, or fewer than normal. So, but I think the expectations on the beans are pretty good right now. But boy, last year proved it more than anything. You can have gold out in the field in the 3rd week of August, and by the time you're running the combines, you're wondering where it goes.
I think we'll end here in a second because I know we're running out of time.
All right. Hey, I got a couple of numbers that I want to give you.
Yep.
Yeah,
please.
do it.
Can I do that? Is it okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it's your show. It's your world. We're just living in it. Roll with it, Chip.
Oh, hey, do we have that picture of Chip out on crop tour, Zach, looking through the numbers? I believe the 2 of them there.
This ought to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think we've
this
got that
really
where Chip's out.
All right, I'll just go ahead and go forward.
Go ahead
with
and
this.
go.
We were talking about the difference between.
There they are.
That's Chip and who?
Just going through the numbers there.
With this hard hat. I'm gonna buy you one.
You got a cowgirl hat? Didn't you have a hard hat, cowgirl hat time?
Yeah, I do, but I think he took your glasses. Those look very similar, Chip.
Oh, well, we both shop at Walmart.
Well, I can't. Is Chip the one on the right, or is he the one on the left?
Well, he's got the numbers, so he's got to be the one on the left there.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Right. Yeah. Right.
All right. Do some numbers, Chip.
We were talking earlier about the difference between the crop tour numbers and the Pro Farmer crop estimates that will be released on Friday. And this year, as I understand it, the plan is to release the numbers in Pro Farmer newsletter, and that's where they will be available. The national average crop and yield estimates. Now, looking at the last 3 years, the Pro Farmer estimate has been above USDA's final estimate 2 times and below it 1 time. The average percent of USDA final is 99.69%. The biggest miss was 381 million bushels too low in 2023. The closest to final, in other words, USDA closest to right, closest to final, 98 million bushels too high in 2022. The average miss over the last 3 years is we've been 53 million bushels too high. Okay. On soybeans, we've been too high twice, too low once. The percentage on the miss is 104.5%. That's outside of where we want to be. Obviously, the closest to final, 52 million bushels too low in 2023. The biggest miss, 374 million bushels too high last year. That was big. Now on a 5-year basis, the average, the percent of the Pro Farmer Crop Estimate to USDA final on corn is 100.99. So on average, over the past 5 years, the crop estimate has been 134 million bushels too high. The biggest miss was 773 million bushels too high in 2020. The on soybeans, it tightens up a little bit actually over the last 5 years. The Pro Farmer estimate is a percent of USDA final 103.27. The average miss is 141 million bushels too high.
So sum that up for us, Chip. The
corn
tour
number,
tends to be a little bit optimistic.
When we put out the corn crop estimate, the goal is to be within 1%. And on a 3-year and a 5-year basis, on average, we've done that. And some of those years were right there. I mean, being 53 million bushels off on a 15 billion bushel crop is nothing. That's rounding. And then on soybeans, we try to be within 2%. But boy, the late season variables on that crop have made it pretty difficult here over the last few years.
Chip, one of the biggest criticisms I hear of Crop Tour is people saying, well, Pro Farmers just in cahoots with USDA, and they're going to continue to, no matter what they find, put a number that's within so many percentage of USDA. What do you say to that?
You got to understand the process. Okay. When we are done with Crop Tour, we've got 2 different yield calculations that run off of the same data sets. One of those calculations used to be the Crop Tour number leading up into 2005. And I changed that in 2005 because it was always too low. And when you're going through the 7 states that we're going through, you shouldn't be too low compared to the USDA final. You should be higher than the USDA final. And what that calculation does is it attempts to adjust for kernel size based on the number of kernel rows around the year. So you get above 16 inches, it figures a smaller kernel. Below, I said 16 inches. You get below 16, let me start over. The number of kernel rows around. So if you have more kernel rows around than 16, it accounts for a smaller kernel. Fewer than 16 kernel rows around, it tries to put in a bigger kernel. But like I said, it's always too low. And the kernel rows always average close to 16 kernel rows around the year. So, but it was always too low, always. So we took that adjustment off, and that estimate makes more sense to us in a field by field and a state by state average, but it's always above the national average yield. But if you run both calculations on all 16 or 1700 samples that we're pulling and calculate one average from both of those, and then find the midpoint of those 2 yield estimates, those 2 calculated yields, that's probably where our yield estimate is going to be. I'm just telling you. So it doesn't matter what USDA's numbers are. We start with Crop Tour and Crop Tour numbers only. Now, that's for the 7 states, but we turn that 7-state estimate into a national average yield with a couple of adjustments. They're very minor adjustments to do that. But the bottom line is you get the national average yield is driven by data that we collect on Crop Tour and the analysis that we have learned to do on that data over the past 35 years. Beans, we do something very similar. We take the pod counts. We know on average how many pods, how many thousand pods it takes to make a bushel of beans. So we take the pod counts, put that factor on a state by state, calculate the average for the 7 states, make the adjustments, that we know need to be made, and that will be our soybean yield estimate too. So it's not like we're just taking USDA's numbers, and this is all fresh data. It's all fresh data that goes into the crop tour corn and soybean yield and crop estimates. And then we'll if we think that there needs to be any adjustments made to the harvested acreage, we'll also do that based off the FSA certified acreage data.
Thank you for explaining that. I mean, it's criticism I hear.
Sounds like there's
Yeah.
math there. There's some
math.
math involved. Hey, do you like, Chip, do you like data? Did you grow up like, oh man, I'm a data head. I love this.
No, not really. Not really. I think I know when it hit me that, spreadsheets and data, how important it is. It was probably the 2000 Farm Bill when we had an opportunity to upgrade, or was it the 98? Might have been the 98 Farm Bill, when we had an opportunity to upgrade base acres or not. You had to make the choice, and it was all about what ifs and thens and everything else. And I did a spreadsheet, ran it through the guys down at Texas A&M, ran it through Zuloff over at Ohio State, and they came back and said, yeah, the thing works. And so we started using that, and that's when I kind of got hooked on it.
Interesting.
Well, I'm looking forward to next week. It is a long week, Chip, for you and for all the scouts.
Not as long this year as what it's been in the past.
It's always fun. Okay, before we go, I do have show and tell.
Oh, show and tell. Here we go.
It's not as long?
Not for me.
Yeah, sorry, my internet.
It's not going to be as long for me this year as what it usually is. I'm taking off the final half day and missing the final meeting.
You got somewhere you're going? You doing something different? You're moving somebody out of college?
No, that's been done. That's been done. No, it's just kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm going to go take advantage of it with my wife. And it's like I said at the start, crop tour has gotten in the way of a lot of shit over the years, and I'm not going to let it get in the way of this.
Well, you do it.
Clinton, you know what it was like in high school when your parents would go on a trip and they leave you alone, and they're like, no parties, no drinking. My stash better be there whenever you know what I mean? Like, be on your best behavior. And then, and I don't know how they do it now with Ring cameras. It sucks for kids. But anyway, that's kind of the analogy I'm going to use on the last day. Okay. Chip's gone. The parents are gone. And I'm telling you, we're gonna have a good time in Rochester. Kids. Oh, don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. Okay.
Don't you worry about Tyne having a good time.
And plus,
the parents are gone.
Look at what we're going to have in Rochester anyway. Good grief. I don't need to be there.
Oh, it's going to be.
What, me?
With Randy Dowdy. And we've got Tyne. We've got Randy Dowdy. We've got David Hula. We're going to have
kidding
Lane
about
Acree. We've got plenty to take my place. No question.
We will miss you. I'm saying that we will miss you. But I'm just trying to make up for you not being there. And so
I'll miss you guys too.
No, you won't. No, you won't. I hope you'd send us a picture. Though.
Okay, real quick show and tell. So, you had really big corn ears, right? And we're supposedly growing a big crop here in the Midwest, and a big corn crop. Well, in California, they're growing a big peach crop. You want to know how big?
Sure.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, look at this. That's the size of your head.
It's a pound. This peach is large. A freaking pound. Okay. And so what I found out in California is the markets become so competitive, and their minimum wage there is $18.50. And so California actually produces 14 times the peaches that Georgia does, but Georgia's known as the peach state. And so in order to compete, they've had to make really big peaches, and it has to be perfect. So if you look at this, when we took it right off the tree, that's a leaf mark. Okay. Consumers don't want that. And so one of the growers put foil on the bottom of his orchard to make sure that this actually, like where that leaf is, that doesn't happen.
Oh, to reflect the sunlight.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, Chip, I got on that thing.
Can you imagine?
No, it's like something about Mary. Where they put that foil up to make sure that you're getting
Magda over here with her foil.
I am telling you though, I got on that foil. It was 20 degrees hotter. I mean, I started sweating. Now it was 110 this week. It's a dry heat, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
So's an oven.
a dry heat is still hot.
Yeah.
But they have actually been cooler than normal this summer, and I didn't realize California's been cooler than normal. Don't see that in the headlines a lot, but they've been cooler than normal, and it's actually helped. Like almond harvest is happening earlier because the crop didn't really shut down when it got too hot. It was like 80s on July 4th, and so the crop's just been cruising. And so they're going to harvest earlier. But anyway, my point is telling you this is it's become so competitive there that they have to do things like that to not have yellow. But they're trying to grow the biggest peach possible to see if this is what consumers want. And it is pound, a pound
Make a
for
good
a
That
pie.
is a
peach.
Make a good
monster.
pie. Let's go.
But they pay $18.50 as the minimum wage. Georgia, which is known as the peach state, it's like 7 something is the minimum wage. And so in order to really cover these costs, which by the way, I did not realize California, their legislature approves 700 to 800 new laws every year. Every year. Now, not all are Chip, not all are ag related, but it could be internet related. It could be transportation related. And it's on each individual farmer to go through and know what those laws are come January 1. Not only that, but these farmers, in order to use any type of pesticide or anything, they literally, someone has to write them a prescription. The amount of when I realize what these farmers are going through and what these growers are going through, I asked them, I said, what do you want the rest of America to know about being a farmer here in California? And one of them said, Tyne, I just want them to know when you say that you wish California would fall off into the ocean, we're here. Like we can't move our operation. And we're just as frustrated with the politics and the regulation that we have to jump through. And we're trying to do
Yep.
everything that we can, but we're having to do things like this just to stay competitive. And we don't know where it goes from here. And so I feel for them. I really do.
Yeah.
Now they have this thing called Sigma that's going in where it's so like, let's say you're a pistachio grower. Okay. I was in a pistachio orchard that had been in there for over 50 years. In order to irrigate that pistachio field, because of this new regulation called Sigma that's been that's been coming for a while, and it's about groundwater, they have to leave land fallow. They have to buy ground and leave it fallow just to be able to use groundwater. All while surface water, some of it's going out in the ocean. And Chip, I was like, really? Is that really happening? Like I see these signs that say, quit sending our water to the ocean. And so I said, is that real? Is that really happening? Yes. Yes, they are sending water out into the ocean, all while these growers are just saying, give us the water that we're paying for right now. And so I'll have some stories coming out. But Fresno, they grow half of the nation's fruits and nuts come from the Central Valley. And I'm telling you, Chip and Clinton, it kind of looked like West Texas in a way. And when you're in the bottoms, just a lot more trees, like orchards of pecans and pistachios and almonds and citrus and all of that. And then some mountains in the background. But the people were so great. I don't know how they do it. And how they do it is they don't have a choice. They really don't have a choice, and they can't just pick up and move, but it is crazy. So as frustrated as you are here in the Midwest,
magic climate. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, at least you have freedom to operate. You go out to places like that and the regulations are just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Wow.
Yep. Had a rancher on the show this last week, Jack Lavers, talking about all those water issues, and it was just something to hear.
It's mind-blowing, Chip. You're like, I mean, and I'm a common sense gal, right? And so I'm like, how does this 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in this scenario? And I am realizing basically in everything that growers do out there, that's what they're faced with. It's crazy.
Yeah, Chip, I believe that interview is going to be up on drovers.com this weekend and next week. So folks can go there and listen to it. Fascinating conversation.
Yep.
Good stuff. Chip, we always appreciate you being here. Thank you for giving us a crop tour preview. And good luck out there, and good luck on your final day, your big trip.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Tyne,
Appreciate it.
I guess we talked it. I mean, this is not scripted or nothing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing. We made it. We made it all the way through.
And
now it's time to go sweating some cornfields for a little while and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, but the weather. Have you seen the forecast?
No, I haven't. Can we hot?
No.
Be nice.
Yeah,
Rain?
it looks. I mean, at least in my app. Now I don't pay for the weather app, and so I've learned my forecast isn't always accurate on my phone. But what I've seen, it's like 80s.
What you pay for? What are you saying?
Yeah. Well, and it was kind of cool last year, but 2 years ago is when it was over 100 degrees and it was so hot. But it's been hot this week. It has been very hot this week, but it looks like we're going to cool down a little bit next week, at least in some of the states. I'm not going to paint a broad brush and say it's going to be cool everywhere that we're going, but it's definitely definitely a cool down is coming in store for a lot of where crop tour, where those routes go. So anyway,
I think folks will take it. All right, Tyne. Well, we're going to do the thing. See what we come up with. Be
Yep.
safe out there. All right.
Yeah,
And
I
don't
will.
drive. Let someone else drive you. Because I know
No,
what kind of crazy driver
no,
you are through the
no.
back roads, the
It
country
doesn't.
roads of America.
Listen, if
You
we want to
listen. Listen.
if we want to get there, you have to drive with a purpose, and that is exactly what I will do next week
Oh, you've been driving
on
with a
crop tour.
purpose.
I drive with purpose, and
That's for sure.
use stop signs as a suggestion. But that is a conversation for a different day. All right, Clinton,
Conversation, another unscripted for a different day.
for a different day. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I learned. I mean, I've been on crop tour 13 years. I've been
Yeah,
with Farm Journal
that's great.
14, but I had a baby one of those years. Poor planning on James's part. And so
We're gonna let that one go too.
I did
We're
miss
just gonna let that one go.
I did miss 1 year. Definitely not 30, whatever, 7 years or 30, whatever we decided Chip was. But it's crop tour is always interesting. And this year I'm eager to see what the scouts find as they actually get out in the field. Just because I feel like in a lot of fields, the NDVI imagery it's not telling the whole story this
Yeah,
year.
for sure. For sure. All right. Well, I hope everybody has a great week and enjoys their time living life unscripted.
Yeah. Until next time, live your life unscripted.
Thanks for joining us. You can dive into more of Unscripted on Farm Journal's YouTube channel and listen to it anywhere podcasts are found. I'm Clinton Griffiths.
And I'm Tyne Morgan. From all of us here at Farm Journal, keep it real as you live your life unscripted.
Unscripted is a production of Farm Journal Studios, where no one grows alone.